Cursor settings are like secret cheat code that no one ever told you about. And most people never touch these. And that's why cursor isn't working for them. It's working against them. But here's the deal. If you know how to tweak these settings, even just one or two, you can turn cursor from a typing assistant into an AI-powered super tool that thinks the way you do. And don't worry, this isn't going to be a boring walkthrough. I'm going to walk you through every settings. Yes, all of them, but with some example, sometimes quick demos, and some context of how you can actually use them and apply them. By the end of this video, you should feel like you know exactly how to make cursor work for you. All right, let's dive in. So first of all, if you are learning into cursor and you have absolutely no idea how to access the settings, you just have to head over cursor on the top left, click settings, and click on cursor settings over here. Now, you have two different ways to access cursor. This is the first one, and the second way is by heading over here on the gear icon and clicking on open cursor settings, and you should see it right away. So if I close this, click that, it should come right away. And there's another way that I found to open it is if you head over to the chat and you click on chat settings, you're also going to trigger the cursor settings like this. So these are the three different ways to turn on the settings. And I found that the quickest way is actually to just head over here and click there to open it right away. Now, when you are learning into your cursor settings, you're going to see a section for your account, for appearances, for privacy mode, and if you have any question. So the first one will just be a way for you to access your cursor account if you want to update your credit, pay for extra credit, or anything of the sort. You can also directly log out from there, and you'll see a little badge showing what's your current plan. Now, if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see VS Code import. So this is if you were using VS Code in the past and you want to import all of your VS Code settings into cursor. You can just do that by clicking import and importing your settings. Then you have appearance. So appearance is a way for you to configure cursor to make it look the way you want. If you want to have like green background, red text, and so on, you can open the editor settings and configure it, your cursor. And that's actually a settings that was already part of VS Code. So they just give you access to that from here. Next, you have privacy mode. So this is if you don't want some of your privacy information to be shared with cursor or stored by cursor, then you can turn that feature off. Cursor only store index data. They don't really store your information per se, but then if you are big on privacy and you don't want any of your data to even be exposed to cursor by any means, then you can just disable that settings right here and no data will be shared with cursor. Now, if you have any questions, you can check out their documentation right here, which will send you to their website, or you can just check the forum. And I spend a lot of time on the forum because you can learn so many things on the forum. So if you are curious, you can just click on these two links and it'll send you to either the docs or the forum. Next, we head over to features. And features is where you'll see the cursor tab, the chat, and if you scroll all the way down, you see the Codebase indexing, docs, editor, and the terminal. Now let's go through them one by one. We're starting with cursor tab. It's essentially the way for you to get text code auto-completion by just typing a text and you're getting the auto-completion right away. So the tab is what you get when you typing tab, you can get autocomplete. This is a very powerful feature by cursor that allows you to get autocomplete for a variety of things into your application. So you have a complete control over cursor tab over here. So first of all, you can turn it on by using the powerful Copilot replacement that can suggest changes across multiple lines. So that means if you're looking at the code and you, for example, want to get suggestion for the next changes, you just press enter, then you hit tabs to take the suggestion. So this is kind of how you can use it, turn this on or off to turn on the ability to use tab or not. Next, you have partial accept. Partial accept is a way for you to accept only a partial part of the suggestion. If I type import and I want to only accept use effect, then I can just do command forward and it will accept just part of the suggestion. Now, if I have that turned off, so if I head over here and turn this off, now, if I do the exact same thing and type the import and I do command forward, it's not going to work because this is not activated anymore. Now, the only way for me to accept the suggestion is by pressing tab and it will accept it. So if you want to have the ability to do partial accept, just turn this on and it should be available. Next, you have suggestion in command. So this is when you have a comment in cursor like this one, and you want to get some suggestion. So you have to turn this on in order to get this kind of suggestion that you are seeing right now when I'm typing. When this feature is on, you're enabling the cursor tab suggestion in comment, and when it's off, you're disabling it. So I think they're having a mini issue right now because it looks like it's working in reverse, because right now I have it disabled and I shouldn't be seeing suggestion right now. Am I seeing suggestion? Yep. And when it's disabled right here, when I click on it to enable it, it looks like the suggestion stopped working. So it looks like there's a mini bug happening right now where it's actually doing the opposite of what it's supposed to be doing. But this is how it works. It's just to activate that comment ability that I mentioned. Next, you have show whitespace only changes. So I look over all of the web to figure out how this one works, even reach out to cursor. Couldn't find anything related to that in the documentation. Sometimes they do add and remove features, so I'm not sure how to use it, and I'm not sure if it's still working. This is something that I'm still waiting for cursor to clarify. So next you have the auto import, and that's a way for you to import necessary module with cursor tab. And right now you only support TypeScript, and it looks like they currently have the auto import for Python in beta. And I'm going to stop right here because in order for you to see any of those beta settings, you actually have to turn on the beta feature. And to do that, you have to head over to beta and look at update frequency. And you can see that you have the early access option available right here. And most people, when you are using cursor for the first time, you will see only the standard option. So you have to come over here and switch to early access in order to see all the new cool beta feature, such as the ability to pick custom agents and more features that you're going to see in the settings right now. So let's get back to features. And now you can see that this is how I was able to activate this feature right here that allow me to test the auto import for Python as well. And you can enable it or disable it if you want to have this ability in your cursor tab functionality. Next, we have chat, and chat is the main feature of cursor. This is what we're seeing over here on the right-hand corner, and that's the main feature for chatting with your agents or asking questions and so on. And over here, you have all the different settings for it. So it starts with the default new chat mode. So this is the mode that you'll see every single time you open a new chat. So if you're selecting agent right now, every time I'm opening a new chat, I will see the agent mode selected. And if I switch that to ask and I open a new chat, it will switch to ask. So this is essentially for deciding what do you want the default agent to be. Next, you have auto refresh chat. So this feature will allow you to automatically create a new chat after inactivity when opening the chat pane. So if you haven't been using it for some time, and let's say your chat pane is closed and you reopen it, based on that inactivity, it might just open new chat for you. Next, you have auto scroll to bottom. So this feature allows you to automatically scroll to the bottom of the chat pane when a new message is generated. Otherwise, as you type in, you will be always staying to the top. So if I head back here and look at one of the conversations that maybe have a little bit more messages, let me try to find one, maybe this one, don't have much. So essentially, if you don't have that, when you're sending a message, it will just stay there. So it allows you to just automatically scroll to the bottom every single time you are submitting a message. Next, we have auto apply to file outside context in manual mode. So this feature allows the chat when you're using manual mode. So to use manual mode, you have to switch to manual mode over here. So when you're using manual mode, it doesn't automatically apply changes to file outside of the context. So this feature will allow you essentially to do that. Next, you have include project structure. For some people that are working with large code base, turning this on is a great way for you to make it easier for cursor to understand the context of your large code base. And what cursor is doing when this is turned on is that it includes a simplified directory tree of your project so that it's easier for the model to understand your code base and layout. Turn this on if you have a large code base, and this is going to be super helpful for the model to better understand the context of your code base. And one of the reasons they've added that is because a lot of people have been complaining that cursor has a hard time dealing with large code base. So this one will essentially make it easier for it to handle that. Next, we have enable auto run mode. And this is what they used to call YOLO back in the time. And then this one essentially allows your agents to be able to use different type of tools without asking for permission. If you're curious about what kind of tools they are, let me quickly show you by showing you this feature right here. So these are all the tools that are available in cursor. So you have the search tools such as Codebase, web, grep, list directory, search file, read file, fetch rules. You have the edit tools such as edit and reapply, delete file. You have the run commands such as terminal, and you have the MCP tool that your agent also has access to. So by having this turned on, your agent is essentially able to use any of those tools without asking for permission. Now, when you have this turned on, you notice that you have a command allow list over here. And if I were to turn this off and turn it back on, you'll see that I'm getting a disclaimer that says auto run mode runs any command based on the allow list and deny list you set. Be cautious of potential prompt injection, risk from external sources, and use at your own risk. If you are worried that the AI agent is going to delete some files on your computer, what you can do here is by adding comments that you want it to be able to run specifically. And alternatively, if you want to deny the ability for your agent to run certain command, what you can do here is by adding a few comments to your command deny list. As you can see here, I've added git add dot and git commit because I don't want my agent to be able to run those comments. Right below it, we see here delete file protection. So as you can see, I have that turned on because if enabled, it prevents the agent from deleting files automatically. That means that in the chat session, every time the agent will want to delete a file, it will first ask me for permission. Next, we have MCP tool protection. And if you enable this one, it will prevent the agent from running MCP tools automatically. So every single time it will need to run an MCP tool, it will ask you for permission before running it. Because most of my MCP tools are actually read-only, I have that turned off because I wanted to access those tools automatically, such as checking my Codebase database for clarity on my data structure, or using the browser tool when you want to get context from my browser. Then after that, we have .file protection. And this feature, if enabled, prevent the agent from modifying .files. So .files such as .gitignore or other config files that you may have in your directory, such as .env for your environmental variables. Next, you have outside workspace protection. And this one, if enabled, prevent the agent from creating or modifying files outside the workspace automatically. Your workspace is where your project is happening. This folder right here is your workspace. And if you have that turned on, it won't be able to modify files that don't reside inside of that workspace. Now we have dialogues don't ask again preference. And when you turn this on, you'll see that it will give you the ability to manage those dialogues don't ask again that you have selected as don't ask again, and you'll be able to like turn them on and off or remove them from here. Next, you have large context. And this feature, when enabled, will allow your chat to handle a much larger context than it usually would. Usually, sometimes when you're working with cursor and your context start to be too long, you'll see a little notice here that the context is too large, and it will suggest you to actually create a new window, which is better for the LLM because it has less context to have to track and be aware of. And so I would recommend when that happens to just open a new chat and start from a new context window. So this feature here gives you much larger context than you will traditionally use. And this, unfortunately, may also incur more fast requests, which is one of the pricing features that Cursor has. Next, you have collapse input box pills in pane or editor. And this is related to having little pills. I believe these are what they call pills. This is something, again, that is not really clear in the documentation. I try to look for it everywhere. What I'm currently wondering if whether this is related to those pills that you see over here and the ability to actually collapse them or expand them when it's turned on or turned off. But I'm not 100% sure. This is also one of the things that I'm still waiting for Cursor to answer. Next, you have iterate on lint, and this one, if enabled, would allow your agent to iterate on TypeScript lint or any type of lint error to fix them automatically. From my understanding, so far I've only used it with TypeScript. I'm not sure if it works with other type of files, but what it enabled the agent to do is to fix TypeScript error as it is detecting them. And this is super helpful when you're coding with Cursor, because then you don't have to keep track of all those TypeScript errors. Next, you have hierarchical cursor ignore. When enabled, cursor in your files will apply to all subdirectories. Changing these settings will require a restart of Cursor. Cursor provides you a .cursor in your files that kind of works similarly to your .gitignore, where you can add files that you want Cursor to completely ignore from its indexing. So when you're using this file, you can add all of those files there, and then when you enable this feature, it will apply it to all subdirectory. Next, you have auto-accept diff. When enabled, all diff in the composer will be accepted once they are no longer in the work tree. Those are the diffs that you see when you are coding. And when they refer to the composer, I believe the agents has become the new composer now. When those diffs are no longer in the work tree, they'll be accepted automatically. Next, we have custom mode. And custom mode is what you've already seen me using here. And this is how you turn this on. It allows you to have your own specific custom mode that you can add to cursor. You can click add custom mode over here to add your own custom mode, give it a name, and select the model that you want to use by default with this mode. And you can add other settings such as specifying exactly what kind of tools this mode should have access to. Those tools could be MCP servers, the ability to run terminal command, to edit files, or to search your codebase, web, grep, list directory, search file, read file, or fetch rules. And again, continuing on some of those beta features, you also have the ability to turn on notification and allow cursor to play your sounds when it's finishing executing one of your queries. So this is very helpful. So when I'm asking cursor to write code for me, and then I don't have to like stick around and look at the code to run, I can just go do something else and come back when I hear a sound and I know that it is done. And oftentimes what I will do is use it through multiple tabs. So I will switch between tabs, and whenever a tab is done, I will get a little like notification, and I'll be able to switch back to the tab that was just completed. Next, you have auto group changes. So this one will automatically group changes made in the chat session with the LLM for you to review. So essentially grouping all of those changes so that you can review them all at once when it's done submitting. Next, we have the web search tools. So if you have trouble with cursor automatically searching documentation or getting the last docs, this could be a super helpful feature because it will allow your agent to automatically search the web for information. Super, super helpful if you want the ability to have the latest docs when necessary. Next, you have code-based indexing. So when cursor analyzes your code, it tries to index your entire application, and you'll see that it's keeping track of how many files he has indexed, and right now it's 100%. And sometimes you can also resync the indexing. You have also the ability to show more settings, and these embeddings are actually what cursor save from you. So if you have your settings disabled, I don't believe that cursor will actually like store any of those data in the cloud. It will probably handle this differently. But as they're said over here, they say that disable data shared with cursor, then cursor won't be able to get access to that data. So you can also click read more to learn more about it. But indexing is how cursor get the full context of your application, and then you can use vector search in order to have a quick access and understanding of your code. Then you have the option to index new folder by default. That means that every time you're adding a new file or new folder, you'll see that cursor is automatically indexing those files. If you don't, then that'll be disabled, and you'll see that the number of files that has synced might not be completed, so you might just have to resync your index as you are not getting your 100% coverage. I usually just keep this enabled. This way cursor can automatically index my code base, and you see that because I enable it and disable it, now I have to click compute index for it to reindex it for me. Now you have the ability to configure what specific file you want cursor to ignore from this is indexing. And this is the cursor ignore file that we talked about. And if I click on it, you can see that it's sending me straight to .cursor ignore for me to actually update that file. So let's head back. So clicking there will open the cursor ignore, and I believe that clicking see all will show you all of the file that you currently have embedded into the cursor code indexing. If you don't want the file to appear here, all you have to do is taking that file and heading back to your cursor settings and making sure that it is added inside of your cursor ignore. They give you a full transparency in what files they're tracking, so it's super easy for you to remove them. Next, we have the Git graph file relationship, and this is the ability for cursor to also index your Git history to have a better understanding of how files work together, which files are related to each other, and this is super helpful for cursor to get even better context into how your code base is working in your application through the history of your code. You can see that you have the option of default, enable or disable, default being enabled by default, enable, and then if you want to disable, just click disable. Then you have the ability to click show debug view. This one is not very clear how to use this one, but it's just specifying use local git graph and a way to auto reload. Not 100% sure how this part works. I haven't really had any need to use it. Next, we have docs, and docs is a way for you to add documentation that you want cursor to be aware of. For example, you can see that I've added Firecrawl extract, Mastra AI, Superbase of Magic Link, Firecrawl deep research, and you can see that I can know exactly when it was last indexed. This way, if for example one of the documentation is either out of date or not current, then I can just hit refresh to make sure that I have the latest data for this documentation. And that will allow cursor to actually crawl the web and go get additional information about his documentation and update what he has about it. And you can see that I can click on see pages to see what kind of content that he actually pulled from this documentation, making sure that it's up to date. You can actually add new docs super easily just by sharing the link to the documentation, and Cursor will take care of indexing it for you behind the scene. So if you have documentation that you are consistently using that you want to make sure to track, just add them here and Cursor will be able to track them. Next, we have the editor. So the editor has different options, the ability to show chat and edit tooltip, and this is just when you're highlighting a code, if you want to see add to chat or edit chat, this is all it's doing. If I were to turn this off, I wouldn't have this ability. So for example, if I click here, head back, and I select the code, now I don't have the tooltip to suggest to add or edit the code. So let's scroll all the way down again. Now, next we have auto parse inline edit links. And this is the ability to automatically parse link when you paste it into this chat. You can see that here, the link was parsed and automatically detected as a link. And if I were to head back and remove these settings, so scroll down to editor and automatically parse link, and head back here, and I went to paste this link, you can see that it hasn't been parsed. So this is what this feature is about. It's just to make it easier for Cursor to detect that this is a context and that context is essentially a link. Next, you have auto select for Command K. So this is one of the settings that it's not very clear what it is. I haven't been able to figure out what it does exactly. Command K is a little chat that appears when you are doing inline editing, and it's saying automatically select regions for inline code editing. So I'm not sure what region it is referencing to, so I haven't been able to really figure out how this one works. If you guys know how it works, please comment in the comment section below and let me know. Next, you have use theme diff background. So use theme background color for inline diff. I'm not quite sure for this one, so if you guys know, make sure to comment in the section below. Next, we have the terminal. So terminal has different features. It has a terminal int, and the way you activate terminal is by clicking on toggle panel right here, and you get access to the terminal. And then this button allows you to hide or show the hint that you see right here. So if you turn this off, you won't see any hint here. And if you have that on, it will let you know that if you hit Command K, you can be able to generate comment in the terminal by doing this. Next, you have show terminal over hint. Similarly to how you can select text in a Codebase and show the chat, it will also allow you to do that in the terminal by showing the hint right here, add to chat. And if it's turned off, then you won't see anything when this is turned off. Next, we have use preview box for terminal Command K. So this one is interesting. So if you do Command K and you were to ask it to list directories, so it will send the ls-a right in the shell instead of putting it inside of the chat box. So if I were to type this, you'll see that it will stream what I just sent directly on the shell right here and try to list the directory right here. Now, if I were to do the exact same thing and I had this turned on, this is how it will appear. It will first show me the suggestion before actually submitting it into of the shell. So I will have to click insert in order to send it, while on the other way around, all I will have to do is click run command in order to run that command right here. So this is what this is for, and yeah, it's just pretty straightforward and preview that you're getting in chat or not. So next, I want to show you the model session. So this is where you can turn on additional model for Cursor. If sometimes you hear that they've added a model, but you're not seeing that model available in your model option yet, so if it's not appearing in set model or anything of the sort or over here, then you can head over there to turn on what model you want to actually see display in this setting right here. You can see that I have turned off some of the standard model like GPT-4 or Mini, and that I have actually turned on other models that are not turned on usually by default. So you can just head over here to do that. And then next, you have access to the different other keys that you can turn on, such as your OpenAPI key, Entropy, Google API key, Azure, and more. So you can just update those settings if you want to add your custom key. I usually just use Cursor's models directly so that don't actually add my keys, but you have the ability to do that if you wanted to use it yourself, or if, for example, if you weren't paying for Cursor but wanted to use your own OpenAI key, so you have the ability to do that. Now, next we have rules. So rules is where you define your own Cursor rules. So for example, if you want to have your global user rules, you can define them here, and those will be rules that are read by Cursor whenever it is executing code. So it will make sure to check what are the user rules, how the user wants me to behave, and the agent will use those rules in order to know what to do. So think of your user rules like your global rules. And then next you have your project rules, which are your workspace rules. So you can include a cursor.files inside of your project directory so that you can have your own rules set up there and be just similarly to how you have that cursor in your, and in it, you'll have all the different rules related to your project. Actually, if you click add new rules, it will suggest to create a new rule file. So if I were to do my custom rules, you'll see that it's creating a brand new file instead of .cursor/rules. And this is the new approach for cursor for creating rules. And then the .cursor rules used to be the old way. So you'll see that it's doing that now, where it's creating the folder first, subfolder rules, and then it has rules set up right here. So I've made a couple of videos about rules and how to write them and my best practices and advices. So make sure to check some of those videos on my channel. I believe it's called Master Cursor, where you can learn more about like how to use rules more in details. Next, you have MCP. An MCP server is a model context protocol that Entropy created, and you can add it right here, right in Cursor. You can click add new global MCP server to add your new servers, and you'll be able to add that inside of a mcp.json file where you can add all of your MCP servers. So you'll notice that now Cursor allow you to have global MCP server, which will go inside of the mcp.json. But you also have the ability to have project-specific MCP servers if you wanted to. You will only load the MCP server for that specific workspace. Next, we have beta, which I kind of give you a quick overview early on, where you can turn on your early access or standard, but you also have the notepad. And a lot of you might be wondering, like, where is notepad? Because it used to be in a different location before, but Cursor actually moved notepad right here, so you still have access to it. And this is a great way for you to type your thought or mention files that you want to share between, the ask mode and chat modes that you want all your agent to have access to. So this is not as useful as it used to be in terms of, for example, sharing things between ask and agent. Now that you can just toggle between the mode, just like in Windsurf, so you have the ability to toggle now. But it can still be useful for if you want, for example, to have different specific notes related to your project. Maybe it could be related to something that is very specific to your company, workspace, or project, and you can still add that over here. And then finally, we have the bug finder. And the bug finder is not a feature that I've actually been using myself, but it allows you to compare your current Git diff and look for bugs inside of your code base. So I think we have covered every single thing that you need to know about Cursor. And if you have any question or would like to learn more about some tips, some Cursor rules, you can check out AI Founders Club and join the community. And in it, you can join a community of more than 70+ people that are also trying to build apps with AI. And you'll also get access to different courses and content that I've made to help you build with AI more efficiently. So if you're curious to get my prompts or my Cursor's workflow or my Windsurf workflow, or even get some deals, then this is the right place to be, because then you'll get access to various tools that I've made specifically for the community, and also get access to a community of people that are trying to build with AI just like you. So make sure to come and join us, and thank you for watching. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check one of those videos right here or right here, and I see you guys in the next one.